Disclaimer: the views expressed on this episode of Perspective Platoon with Prateek are solely the opinions of the host and the guest. The content of the conversation is not reflective of the institutions or establishments mentioned therein. Take all these opinions with a pinch of salt and a dash of lime if needed. Namaskara, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever you're watching or listening, and welcome to this episode of Perspective Platoon with Prateek. My guest this week is Jonathan Williams. Jonathan and I, like most of my guests, met at the University of Central Oklahoma. That's a bit of a running joke at this point, but hey, there's a lot of interesting people I've met, and there's a lot of interesting things to learn about them. And in this episode, it's no different. Jonathan and I spoke about a wide range of topics related to health, because his field of study is related to that, along with religion and so much more. So there's a ton that you can take out of this episode in terms of relatability or just lessons in general. So without further ado, I present to you Jonathan Williams on this episode of Perspective Platoon with Prateek. Hey Jonathan, how's it going?
Hey man, I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing good, doing good, doing good. Before you get started, let the people know who you are, what some of your likes are, some of your dislikes, some of your future aspirations. Yeah,
Okay.
anything you're comfortable sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Jonathan Williams, and I'm originally from Madhya Pradesh, India. I came to UCO 4 years ago, so 2017 spring, wanting to pursue exercise fitness management because I grew up playing basketball. I grew up playing all kinds of sports, but loved playing basketball. Am in love with basketball still to this day. Want to work with professional athletes in some point in life. Um, but yeah, just love fitness, just love hanging out with friends, just what else? What else? Likes and dislikes?
Any likes or dislikes?
Yeah,
Both, actually.
can't really think of like dislikes. I mean, the only thing that comes to my mind right now when I say is like I hate broccoli. I hate cauliflower. So I think that's the only thing that I could think of when it comes to like dislike.
Why do you hate it?
I don't know what it is. It's just the structure,
Ah,
texture, not structure, texture.
okay.
And growing up, my mom literally would like want me to eat like cauliflower, and like she literally, and you would relate to this because like in India we have called like gobi paratha, aloo paratha, right?
Right,
So like it's basically like smushed up all vegetables and everything and like rolled up in a tortilla, right? So that like the
right.
kid doesn't know what's in there, but still getting nutrients, right? That's the only way I would eat that because if I see that in my plate, I'm not touching it. I don't know why. And till to this day, like I just it's something of it smells disgusting to me. It tastes
Mm,
it I feel like there's no taste. And but yeah, I
mm.
could just go on a rant, but I don't want to. But that's something I did dislike. I can't think of anything else right now, so let's just go with that.
Okay. Were you never a Gobi Manchurian fan?
No, so I love chicken, and I
Uh-huh.
grew up eating chicken, so like that was like my cop out. I was like chicken Manchurian all the time, like gobi Manchurian, absolutely not.
Right.
I mean,
Fair.
every now and then I could like taste it or try it, but like if I have the option to eat something else, absolutely I'm going with something else.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. No, for those of you who don't know, gobi Manchurian is sort of like a cauliflower-based
Yeah.
dish. What's in it? I forget what's in it now.
I
It's been a
mean,
while since I've had it.
it's pretty much like some kind of like spicy sauce with like
Mm.
spring onions and like sometimes peppers. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've had it too. It's
Yeah.
like one of like the what's it called, like the easiest to get street food in India for sure.
Mm.
Like that's what, because we as friends would always go hang out at like the street corners and like chaat masala and all of that stuff. And gobi Manchurian would be the preference for people who are vegetarian. So
Right.
so yeah, I did take part in that a little bit, but I had my chicken. So
Right. You went for the chicken, not for the gobi.
Yes, absolutely.
Fair enough. I mean, I don't know why I just had this thought pop up into my head. It's sort of funny. You said you're sort of into fitness and like because that's what you're studying,
Hmm.
right? Um, broccoli is supposed to be, or is believed to be, one of the most sort of healthiest vegetables out
It
there.
is.
So I don't know, the juxtaposition of that. I just find it really
I
interesting
know.
how.
So
Uh,
it's really funny that you bring that up. That like because like since I found that out and like I knew like it was like a big component of like building muscle and like healthy food. I did start eating it because like I started meal prepping it, and like most of my meals would consist like chicken, rice, and broccoli because that's like the main component. Every bodybuilder and every like fitness freak would be like, oh yeah, chicken and rice, and add
mm,
some broccoli to it. So that would be. But still, I just don't know what it is about broccoli that I just cannot like it. I just
mm,
don't know. I eat it every now and then. Won't like, but I dislike it.
yeah.
Strongly dislike it. I won't say hate. I strongly dislike it.
Mm,
Yeah.
gotcha. What are your favorite vegetables if you were to split that up?
I love spinach. I love okra. I love.
Mm,
Oh, I don't eat a lot of vegetables, if you can tell. Um, uh, I honestly don't know. Yeah, no, spinach, okra, beans. I love beans, green beans.
mm.
Um, yeah, but yeah, I mean, potatoes are vegetables, right? Right?
Fair.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So I like potatoes.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love me some good potatoes. So hash browns, French fries, all potatoes. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that would be some. The reason I love spinach so much is because my mom used to make this dish with paneer. So it's like
Mm,
farmer's cheese, and people find it disgusting when I say that because they relate it to like cheese in as a dish, kind of,
yeah.
And but like in India, it's like so famous, like like basically like every other house eats it. But it's basically like spinach curry with farmer's cheese in it.
Right. Like palak
Palak
paneer.
paneer.
Basically, that's
Exactly.
what it's
Yeah,
called.
that's what it's called. So no, that was one of my favorite dishes, like vegetarian dishes growing up. Like if my mom would be like,
Mm.
"All right, we're not making chicken today, or we're not cooking any kind of meat. What would you like?" And my answer would be like palak paneer. Like let's go palak paneer. Easy option.
Nice.
Yep.
Are you a rice guy or a flatbread guy or a chapati guy?
Chapati guy, flatbread for sure.
Oh, same.
And
Same.
yeah, and like I don't know what it is. I mean, I've gotten better with it. Growing up, like chapati was just easier for me, I guess,
Hmm.
because Indians eat with hand, right? So like for me to like
Right.
grasp that concept as a young guy, I was just like, I don't know what I want. Like, I mean, I'm still eating with hand, like if I'm eating a flatbread, but it's just like less messier, I guess,
Yeah.
and it just tastes better. And plus, like naan bread or naan, butter naan, I would pick that any day over rice.
Mm.
Yeah, rice is a good substitute, but it's not the best.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Because I think like mixing rice with curry
Hmm.
and like that sort of whole action of like
Right.
bowling it up together and sort of putting it into your mouth.
Yeah.
I mean, for those who've not eaten with their hands, it's really weird.
Right. Right.
But I guess as Indians, we sort of get used to doing that
Hmm.
at home.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like crazy because like so my parents are from South, and in South
Mm.
they like most of the people like they use their whole hand instead of just their fingers. So like that's more like for me it was just like yeah that I don't think I can ever do that. Using your whole like fist to make a ball out of
Mm.
a rice. Have you ever
Hmm.
like witnessed that?
No, it's interesting you say that because even like I'm also from the south too. My parents would always yell at me for using my whole hand. They'd just be like, "Use your
Right.
fingers. You're not smashing stuff with your palms. Use your fingers to
Yeah.
eat." So
It's
yeah, it's interesting how.
Yeah, I guess it's
Yeah,
like, I mean, it's not too far away, but like Kerala and Maharashtra is like
yeah,
right there. But like Keralites and Tamil Nadu, like people there, like mostly people or majority of people like eat with like all of their hands.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
kind of crazy.
No, wherever I've seen in Karnataka, I think we're sort of more finger people than
Yeah.
palm people, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
If that's one way of putting
I
it.
mean, hey, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for people listening, don't draw weird conclusions out of this. It's
I
just we're
know.
talking about
Yeah.
food.
Honestly, India is a wild place for sure. Like it's a mix of a lot of different cultures and a lot of different styles of eating, speaking,
Hmm.
acting. Yeah,
Would you call it a sensory overload?
for sure. For sure. Like I actually like that you put it that way because like my friends ask me if they would like India or like what would their first
Hmm.
reaction be, like cuz like for me like growing up there like what like now seeing people who lived here and grew up here, what would their first reaction be going there? So like sensory overload I feel like would be the best way to put it because like I
Hmm.
keep telling people I'm like I don't think you're ready for what you're going to witness when you step foot in India. And it's like
Yeah.
anywhere, like it doesn't matter what state you go to. It's just like the smell is different, people are different, you're everything just it's wild. It's like definitely a culture shock for sure. Like
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
definition of a culture shock right there.
No, totally. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you because I think a lot of the times when people think of India, they think of it as like a sort of one thing,
Mhm.
but then there's many different smaller things within that one thing
Right.
when you go around the country. So yeah, it's sort of interesting how it can be a sensory overload, and it can be a sensory overload for people who've lived within the country too.
Oh yeah.
Like for example, if a person from the south goes to the north,
Hmm.
it's a totally different thing.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah. Just a random thought. Is there any part of India that you haven't been to that you'd like to be to, or like to sort of visit rather?
Yes. Excuse me. I've always wanted to go to like the east side, so like Assam, Nagaland, like all of that places, and because I've always felt like it's so beautiful, and it's like just the
Hmm.
good mix of just like the hilly areas, flatlands, like all of that stuff. Like growing up, like learning about like the Darjeeling tea. Like I want to try the Darjeeling tea in Darjeeling. You know, like it's a place.
Mm,
Yeah, for people who don't know Darjeeling, it's a place in India that has like the best tea. So yeah, like
yeah.
that's one of the places because I've never been to the east side ever. And I always thought, because like our schools, like our high schools would take like educational trips or field trips, but they would always go either north or south. Because like they were always like, oh yeah, we'll go to
Mm,
Shimla because it's like this hill station, or we'll go to Nainital because it's hill station.
right.
But I was also like, man, like we could honestly just go to east and explore some more places than
Right.
I don't think a lot of people have explored. You know, I
Mm,
feel like I don't know, and this is just me personally. I feel like eastern side of India, like eastern. When I say eastern, like the borders, like the borders,
right.
yeah, or like close to like Burma,
With Bangladesh, Nepal, like that side of the
right,
yeah,
like Burma, Myanmar, like all of that, like where they're like touching borders with.
that cluster.
Yeah, I feel like they get or like those states get a little like ignored when it comes when people start talking about India,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like it's so clustered amongst like these big metropolitan cities that like people forget about like man, like we have brothers and sisters on that part of the country too, because I feel like I don't hear a lot about or growing up I didn't hear a lot about like what's going on in the eastern side of India.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I relate to you with on that 100% because I personally also want to visit that part of the country,
Yeah.
and I do agree. Like, unfortunately, since they're sort of in that corner, they've
Mhm.
just been left to be in that corner.
Right.
And even if they do sort of come to the bigger cities, they're misunderstood to be people from other parts of the world
Exactly.
because they look different
Hmm.
too. They're not
Yeah.
necessarily the generic Indian look
Right.
because they sort of part closer to where Tibet is and all those parts are.
Right.
So they probably look less Indian and more like those parts of the world.
Right.
So unfortunately, they get misunderstood for being from other parts
Yeah.
of the world rather than being from India.
Yeah.
So it's really sad.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, it's yeah, I'd definitely love to go there too.
Yeah.
Um, But yeah, switching tracks back to a little more about you. What got you into fitness? Because usually as a child, I mean, we do play a lot,
Yeah.
but when you think about fitness, it's not sort of like the thing that kids gravitate
Mm-hmm.
towards, if that makes
No,
sense.
yeah.
So what got you into fitness?
Fun story for sure. Well, it's fun now. It wasn't fun then. So, so yeah, for like listeners, disclaimer, like this could get a little heavy for a lot of people. So, but I would love to share it because like it's a part of my story. So, um, growing up, like I mean, yes, like you said, like kids play around and like we like do all kinds of stuff, right? Um, my family had our own bakery, so like we had our own business,
Mm,
bakery business, right? And so which means like I could have all kinds of sweets and all kinds of foods for free. Well, not free really, but like like for me it was
yeah,
like, oh yeah, it's my dad's business. I can just walk in and get whatever I want and how much ever I want. There's no like
right.
limit to it, right? And that kept
Mm-hmm.
happening, and like it kind of became like a routine of just like, and that was the time when I was like not like active or like playing or anything like that.
Mm,
That was like this season of life where I was just like eating, like nothing like crazy, like oh I was like dealing with some kind of like stress or anything like that, but just like as a kid I have a sweet tooth, just eating.
yeah.
And and the ultimate result of eating a lot and not having a physical like a active physical life is you get a little like go towards like obesity. Like you get a little big, you get a little like not being able to like move and stuff like that. And we were like on our way to school one morning, and one of my friends just, I don't know why, like we were just like talking about it, and we just got in like a weird argument, and he just said like, you can't even do nothing to me because you're so fat.
Mm,
And I don't know why that got me, because I was just like,
yeah.
oh shoot, I mean, you ain't wrong. Like my first instinct was like, I mean, you ain't wrong, but like, why would you like say that to my face?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and my brother was like into basketball and all kinds of sports then, like and like working out and all of that stuff. So that kind of like was like, man, like I need to change something. This needs to change, because like I can't just like spend my life just like just eating pretty much. I need to control this.
Mm,
I need to actually like take care of my body. So that's how like I got into like sports and stuff. I like basically like just followed my brother's footsteps. Like he played all kinds of sports, so I played every sport. I like he was like basically like my mentor, like teaching me all these sports. And then finally like got into basketball and stuff. And I used to jump rope like crazy. Like I could do all kinds of tricks. I could like like speed jump rope, like do like crisscross and stuff like that, because I just like so got. And like I love, like the real reason I love fitness is because like I love to see the results, and how addictive of like the nature of like seeing results is so addictive. Like I love to see that, because like I was like, man, like when I started seeing results, like I started becoming fast, I started growing, like my height grew, and like I started becoming like more lean and more fit. I was fast, I could jump higher. Like I used to be able to like dunk a basketball, and I'm
mm,
only like 5'10", so like that was like a big achievement. So I'm just like, all these results are so addictive, because then I'm just like, man, I want to strive for more, or I want to maintain, at least like I want to maintain all these achievements that I have. So that's how I like was like, man, like, and my family um always wanted me to become some kind of doctor, and that's like very
mm.
typical Indian.
Very typical.
Right.
Yeah.
So they were just like, yeah, like you're like, we gave you the name. This is funny, because we gave you the name Jonathan Williams, and Dr. Jonathan Williams has a really nice ring to it. So why not become doctor? And I was like, huh, well, that's not how it works, but sure, we'll try. We'll try, like just, yeah. So wanted to be like in a medical field, like something like that. And then like it just like, just trying to figure out like, how can I like still be involved in something that I'm passionate about, but also like maybe even like try to like honor my parents. And kinesiology was like just something that stuck out. I started researching about it and basically like studying how body moves, studying how like, like what you need to do to prevent these kind of injuries, or if you have an injury, how to get better, how to do better and get back to your original strength. So all of that just fascinates me, and human body just fascinates me in general. So I was just like, man, like fitness is like such a good way to impact people, because you're just like, why, like if I can see the results and I can be like, if I have the benefits and I have been impacted personally, how much more can I benefit people from my story? And so many more people out there can relate to that, So that's, I know I just went on a whole ramble, but that I think answers
No, you're good.
the question.
You're good.
Yeah.
No, you're good. This whole like thing is about rambling.
Yeah.
So I'm totally up for it.
Yeah.
I'm totally up for
I
it.
love that.
But you mentioned something interesting there about how the results of being fit get addictive. So for you, someone being a foodie, like you were a foodie at that point in your
I
life.
still am.
Fair
Yeah.
enough. Fair enough. And this might take a bit of a deep turn.
Okay. Hey.
But yeah, like for example, you know how like sometimes we can attach our sort of feelings to food and sort of like just consume food and sort of seek happiness through that.
Mm-hmm.
But being able to switch to seeking happiness from being fit is probably the healthier way of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And sort of staying fit and staying active and doing the right things in that aspect
Yeah.
is probably the best thing that you could do for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I personally feel like I'm in that crossroads at the moment because I'm a foodie too.
Mm-hmm.
I love being a
Yeah.
foodie, but at the same time, sometimes I'm like, I need to do better and I need to keep myself fit. So what is it that stops people from making that switch to being fit? In your own opinion, this is your opinion, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, it doesn't necessarily. You don't need to feel like you're going to offend anybody.
Oh, no. Yeah.
But there's that.
So let me get the question set. So like, what is that one thing? Are you asking that like
one thing or multiple things that stop people from switching from seeking pleasure in food
okay.
to seeking pleasure in being fit and healthy?
Okay. I think like the umbrella of this, like an overarching theme of it would be like, what really are you finding your happiness in? So like, I mean, like me personally, like, I mean, yes, like somebody could be so addicted to food or so self-pleasuring towards food. It could be the same thing with working out too, like people sometimes do it so in such an unhealthy manner that like, it's like gym in the morning, gym in the evening, gym at night, like, and that's also not healthy, so like,
Yeah.
everything is like good in moderation, I believe. Like anything
Right.
access, like you cannot be in two different spectrums. Like there has to be some places where you need to have the right balance. So I think like one thing is definitely like, what are you actually like trying to find your happiness in? Like what is actually satisfying you? Because like, and what is, do you even have a vision for yourself? Like what are you actually trying to achieve from your life? If that makes sense. Because like,
No, that does.
yeah,
That does.
because for someone, because for a lot of people, and now again, like I'm not trying to like offend anybody or anything like that, but for a lot of obese people, and this is like things that I'm backing up with like what I've learned in school, going to school for like exercise fitness. For a lot of obese people, like the underlying factor is like them not personally trying to make that change, and it could be a lot of factors, like something crazy happened in their life, their mental health is dealing with something, or like their family, like they have like some family issues, they have some personal issues and things like that. But like at the end of the day, like if you don't personally make that change, no one else can actually make it for you. So like that's what it comes down to. It's like, are you actually, and again, like a lot of factors, like you surrounding yourself with people who are actually trying to push you and build you in a way where you're like, man, like I feel like because I'm such a true friend to you, I think you should get up your butt and do something about this thing.
Yeah.
Instead of sitting there and complaining about it, let's make a change. How can we make a change? How can I be a part of your change? How can I help you? So like basically like surrounding people with them. So like I feel like a lot of times people miss on that is that like they don't have people
Mm-hmm.
they don't have people around them who can build them up, who can like push them to achieve the goals or to achieve that satisfaction that they need from their life or what they want to see in their life. Does that make any,
Mm. No, that does make
Okay.
sense. That does make sense because I think a lot of the times, um, when you don't have that sense of knowing where you want to get,
Mhm.
like in terms of setting a target,
Yeah.
it can be very easy to sort of be like, oh yeah, it's okay, it's just one more day,
Right.
I'll eat
Yeah.
this laddu
Yeah.
or I'll eat a pizza
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think without that target, it can be hard to establish that.
Yeah.
And sometimes even with the target, like, sometimes it can be a little hard for people, depending on various reasons. Like, of course, there's multiple underlying factors, like you said,
Hmm.
be it a rough experience, be it some mental health issues, and so on,
Right.
that leads people down that path.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how physical fitness has a huge connection with mental fitness
Hmm.
in a lot of ways. Is that something that you all learn in school? Like, just out of curiosity, is that something that they
Yes.
teach you in kinesiology?
Yes. So a part of it is like, so like what people don't understand a lot of times is like the reason why physical fitness is so like such a good goal to have or such a nice thing to have in your life, or like why people push that so much is because like your brain is making you work that, right? So like when you work out, like there's like these hormones that are released, into your brain, which make you feel that way, of like the nice feeling, the cozy feeling, or like the good feeling. If that, like, like I can't remember all of the hormones right
Yeah.
now, but it's like a bit of like
Mm-hmm.
dopamine, serotonin, all of that stuff. Like it kicks in, and like those are like the neural adaptations that we learn about in school. Is like all of the workouts, the way you work out, the intensity of workout, what kind of workout you do, all of it affects your brain in some kind of way. So like, for a lot of like,
Mm-hmm.
simple example is like a nice walk in the park, right? For a lot of people, it's like, man, like my eyes are seeing this beautiful nature and it's taking it all in. That's what's making me feel good. I mean, yes, it's a part of it,
Mm-hmm.
but because your body is moving and that's sending signals to your brain that your body is moving and it's active and it's doing the thing that it's supposed to, your brain is like, good, I need this more. I need this more. So your body is like releasing those hormones of making you feel good, you know? So like that's like a simple example. But yes, we do, to answer the question, we do learn about neural adaptations in one, like most of our classes.
Mm. Is there anything that you sort of went through in these courses so far that has sort of blown your mind, or that's something that you weren't necessarily aware of?
It's a good question. It's a good question because I've had quite a bit of classes, but um,
Or anything that sort of enforced the point that you knew,
yeah.
if not
Um,
something that blew your mind?
I mean, there's quite a lot that like I have like actually learned that was like new to me, and
Mm-hmm.
also like, oh shoot, like all of these fitness gurus on Instagram and TikTok nowadays, like they have all these like fitness regimens or like fitness things that they do, but like they're not backed up by science, or like they're not backed up by like results, or like, like it's just like to get like the crowd, like basically, right? um
Hmm.
so one of the things that I am a big advocate of, and I learned it in my personal nutrition class, was, and I still like to this day, like, and I probably will for the rest of my life, will advocate for it. It's like, it really doesn't matter what you eat, it really matters how much you eat it.
Hmm.
So like for us, it's like, because like for a lot of people, what they think is like, man, I'm eating all these junk food, right? I need to stop it. And what they do is like they get on this like strict diet, and they're like, I'm not going to eat chips for the rest of my life, or I'm not going to eat chips for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, right? And I'm going to get on this strict diet and eat all these things that are on this diet and just stick to it, right? For me, what that does for like individual is like you're setting yourself up for failure, because you're going from eating whatever you want to eating like this strict diet. You'll go one day, you'll go 2 days. The reason people fail so much on the third day is because your body is telling you you really haven't um, slowed into it, or like gotten into it with the right mindset, right? Like, so like, for example, like the calorie surplus or calorie deficit or calorie maintenance, right? You might have heard about that. So like, I feel like if your goal is to like maintain your weight, you have a like specific amount of calories that you can take in every single day. I believe if you can stick to that calorie deficit and eat whatever you want, you're good to go. Like you're fine with physical fitness, of course. Like with physical activity, of course. Like I'm not saying like eat whatever you want and just sit there, and do nothing about it. But like if you're in that calorie intake and you are like sticking to it and you're sticking to moderation, you're fine. And that's how I live by too. Like I don't like tell people like, oh, I'm gonna cut this, I'm gonna cut that. I try to eat everything, but in moderation. So like 2 to 3 years from now, before I had that mindset, I would have an Oreo pack, and I probably might finish that whole pack in one day, right? Which we all know that it's not good, right? But now I've slowly gotten myself to a position with if I do buy a pack like that, it lasts me like literally like 3 to 4 weeks, or even like a couple months, because sometimes I forget about it because I'm so into like, man, like I'm only gonna eat this much for today and I'll be done, and then like the next day I can like eat, like reward myself for that. So like it becomes a habit, and now my brain keeps telling me like, okay, yeah, you need some sweet, go eat some sweet, but remember that you eat it in moderation. So that was something that I was just like, oh my goodness, like that was like mind blowing. Because another example I'll tell you is like the keto diet, right? Like it's such a hype thing, like a keto diet, right? Now you will see a lot of people who go into keto diet. They go on that keto diet and do well, and they reach their goals and things like that, right? As soon as that deadline or like that last day happens, they go and eat whatever they want, right? Like they just go ham on things. That defeats the purpose.
Defeats the purpose. Yeah.
Like that's not what you did the diet for. Like you did a diet. So like I feel like your diet or your nutrition should be more like a lifestyle instead of like a strict for a certain period of time, if that makes sense. Like if you can make your diet a lifestyle instead of making it a diet of like 3 to 6 months or a year, it would serve you so much better, and you would actually see the results, and you'll be much happier because you're not like restricting yourself from eating a donut if you want to.
Right.
Like I can go eat a donut whenever I want to. I don't like stop myself from doing that, because I know I can eat a donut today and then go like days without eating a donut, and I should be fine.
Right.
So yeah.
No, yeah, based on what you said, like the sort of mindfulness attached with eating seems to be the more important thing.
Yeah.
In comparison to what you're eating. Yes, like you said, don't smash a pack of Oreos in one day.
Right.
That's note to self, because I do that. But like the aspect of being mindful towards eating seems to be like the overarching theme based off of what you said.
Yeah.
So for you personally, since you've sort of made that switch, what were a few things that helped you build that approach of being mindful with what you eat?
Yeah. That's I feel like the biggest thing for me was like setting myself like smaller goals. Like so like you've heard of SMART goals, right? So like try to like really do that more often. So like basically like setting myself for goals that are like little goals. So like for example, like I love coffee, right? Like I cannot live without coffee, right? I am such a coffee addict that I'm so dependent on caffeine that one day or 2 days I go without caffeine, my head starts hurting so bad. Like, and that's bad. But like for me, like I had to be mindful of it, that like I don't want to be so dependent on these substances of this world So like I need to like teach myself that like how to like refrain from that, right? So like for example, sweets or chips or things like that, I think I started doing it in like smaller doses, which I would be like
Mm,
I would not have it at my house. I would not have it at my apartment. I would have people around me holding me accountable to not eating it or drinking Coke. So like
mm,
so for example, like at BCM, we have like a small fridge that has like all kinds of like drinks and stuff, right? And you could just grab it for 50 cents. But I would tell people that like, hey, if anyone even sees me trying to approach that fridge, stop me. Yell at me, scream at me, do whatever you want to, but stop me. Do not let me do it. Right. And like when it keeps happening, your brain automatically is like, okay, I want a cookie right now, but it's actually good for me. And then somebody like from the back would be like, yeah, you shouldn't be eating it. Like you don't need it. And like that reassurance of like you're trying to achieve a goal, this would serve you better for the longer run. I think that helps a lot. It's like so like basically saying like setting myself up for smaller goals of saying like, oh, I won't eat this for a week, but also like telling myself that like what when that week is over, I can go have a little fun with it, but not just indulge in it pretty much. Yeah.
mm.
So that
That's fair.
yeah.
Yeah.
So accountability, setting yourself up for small goals helps a lot.
Mm.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
Cool. Cool. This is probably like a bit of a pivot based off of what we were just talking about, but it's sort of related to you studying kinesiology.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, this is probably going to come as a hard pivot to those listening too. But it's just the next question that's sort of calling out to me in my head. You said that you chose kinesiology as a major to study because easy for me to say, because it's sort of aligned with what your parents sort of wanted out of you, along with some of your passions.
Hmm.
So, firstly, is that from a place of, well, no, I guess I could start with something else. Firstly, do you think that that can sometimes be a hindrance, like trying to also force, not, I guess force fit is the wrong word, but trying to sort of fit in with what your parents want along with trying to pursue your passion? Can that be a hard thing to do, or can that be the wrong thing to do?
Uh,
Because you know how every time people are sort of like talking about, oh, sorry to cut
oh
you
no, you're
off,
good.
but like, um, it's like, do it for yourself. Don't do it for anybody else. That sort of thing
Right.
that people talk about. So, yeah, how do you sort of look at those things sort of working together?
Excuse me. Um, I personally feel like I'm like really blessed in that situation where like my parents never like said like this is what you're doing and this is what we want
Mm,
from you. It was
right.
always in the sense of like this is what we would like for you to do, like this is something that like we dream of, but like at the end of the day they understand that like I am my own person. So I am I would be doing something that I am passionate about and like I am willing to do. And like for us, so like for us Christians, like we believe like whatever we do and wherever we are, we're doing it all for the glory of God. So like in
Mm-hmm.
everything that we do, if we're doing it for the glory of God, it shouldn't be hard. It shouldn't be
Mm,
like it shouldn't be like a feeling like a burden. Well, I say it shouldn't be hard.
mm,
It could be hard, but it would at the end of the
yeah.
day is satisfying our soul. So you should like go for that instead of what you want as a
Mm,
person or what your parents want. So in that setting, like I always
mm,
feel like I have never been like burdened or like what's the word? Like forced to choose to make a
mm-hmm.
choice by my parents because they've always been like, man, like at the end of the day, like yes, we would love for you because like this is us as parents saying that like we would love for you to be a doctor, like we would love for you to have a good life,
Right.
things like that. But like at the end of the day, no matter what, we just want you to be happy and we want you to love what you're doing. So I don't think it's
Mm,
it's ever been like a hindrance because like yes, like there were parts where I had to have a conversation with them saying like, hey, this might not look like what you were expecting, you know? Like
mm,
I might actually not be a doctor at some any point. So like I would say that
yeah.
be ready for that. Like that was a conversation that like it had to happen with my parents, and they were okay with it. They were like, yes, like it hurts a little bit, but also like they have to realize that like they can't keep, because like they're trying to like protect me. They're trying to like see me flourish and see me, because like again, like I'm my own person, so like they can't force their dreams and their thoughts on myself or on my life.
Right.
So I don't think that was ever like a thing of like, man, like I want to do it for my parents, but like I feel burdened. It's more like I would
Mm,
love to do it, but like if it doesn't go that way, I'll be fine. They'll be fine.
mm,
Yeah.
gotcha. Yeah, that was a bit of a hard pivot
Yeah.
from,
Yeah.
and I apologize if it was a
Oh,
bit
not at
jarring.
all. You
But
could.
the next sort of thing that popped up into my head was you said that you need to have those hard conversations. Um, for you, have you personally, if you're comfortable sharing, have you personally had any experiences where having those hard conversations was, no pun intended, hard for you to do?
Yeah. I would say I feel like every hard conversation that I have had in my life was hard. Like it's funny because like we actually talked about this the other day with my couple of my friends, and I was just like, it's so hard to just like make yourself have that conversation or put yourself in a situation to have that conversation. But because like for us as humans, it's so much easier to like find a cop out and be like, man, like if I just
Mm,
ignore this situation, or if I just like not think about this, I don't even have to do it. But that doesn't solve the
mm,
problem though, you know.
mm,
To be able to be a problem solver, or to be able to actually come to a conclusion that is going to benefit both parties, you need to have that conversation. The conversation that I was having with my friends was more about like asking a girl out, you know? And I was just like,
mm,
man, if you like this girl, and you do, and you know that you like this girl, you have to ask her out. You know, you have to address it no matter what, especially when you're good friends. Because if you don't address it, it's still going to be in your brain somewhere, right?
oh yeah.
Even though you try to push it down or like shove it down or like not think about it, like I would say like not think about it in quotes, because like there's no way you're not going to think about it. You're not going to think about it in front of
Mm-hmm.
people, but like when you go to bed, you're going to be like, man, I should have asked that girl out. You know, like that's the reality of life. So, like, for you to actually have an answer if that girl wants to go out with you, there's only one way to find that out, is to have that conversation,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So, like, I feel like every conversation that I've had in my life has been hard, but it's just the line that you have to cross where you're like, you got to pull the trigger. If you don't pull the trigger, you're
Mm,
gonna either just like just sulk in it and just be miserable in it, or you're gonna have that conversation, have a mature adult conversation, and then like find freedom in it.
mm. What stops people from pulling the trigger, from your opinion?
I think this is actually funny because like this actually the first thing that popped up in my mind when I said is we had this conversation. It's unrealistic expectations.
Right.
It's literally unrealistic expectations, because like people make so much of what this other person is going to say, think, or is thinking.
Mm,
It's just so unrealistic, you know, and
right.
it's like a very real thing in today's world, you know.
Mm,
like like for us, like I'll give you an example, like roommates, like take for example like
yeah.
roommates, you know. And like if there's like three people living in the apartment, um and one person has some kind of issues with the other person of like not taking the trash out, or he's not doing his duties right, that person probably is like, man, like I can take this trash out whenever I want, right? Because it's my duty, so I can take care of it whenever I want. This other person is like, well, you have this duty, why can't you just take it out right now because it's sitting there, you know.
Right.
Until and unless this is said, how is the other person going to know, right? So like for
Mm,
me, it's like, man, like why are you having these expectations? Because like if you even have these unrealistic expectations, I would say voice it out, because that would be so much better than just both parties just not talking and being in their own
mm-hmm.
rooms and saying, like, this one person is like, man, I can just take it out tomorrow, or I can just take it out this weekend, right? And this other person is just getting mad for no reason, thinking, why is he not taking out? Why is he not doing his duty? Why don't you just you live under the same roof? Just come together, have a mature conversation of like, hey, when we first started living here, we had this thing where you said you're going to take the trash out, right? Can you please do it? Because it is actually bothering me. Because that would be so much better, because like both parties would actually feel lighter, because then the other person would be like, man, I actually didn't know that you wanted me to take it out. Like, it was bothering you so much. So now as a friend, I would respect you and actually do my job, you know,
Right.
instead of just like having those unrealistic expectations and just sulking in them. Like, it would be much better to not have those unrealistic expectations and just voice out your thoughts.
Fair. Yeah, no, like you said, I remember having this conversation with you about a couple of weeks back. But we might have talked about this then, but just to sort of bring it back up, if we have, what is it that makes people set these unrealistic expectations? And what is it that doesn't make them realize that they have set these unexpected or unrealistic expectations?
Um, I feel like each of us as individuals have like this innate self of just like wanting to be heard and wanting to be known, you know? And I think that's where like the expectations like come off from, is like, or like are stem from, is like, man, like me, myself, personally, I know myself. So like I would want, if I were you, I would do this to me to make me feel loved, or I would do this to me to make me feel respected or honored, or, you know, like fill in the blank. But like what we don't understand is like we can't really do that unless someone else knows that, because yes, God has created us with all these emotions and feelings, but unfortunately he hasn't given us the power of mind reading, you know? So like, and the reason he's given us these emotions and feelings is so that we can share it and actually take part in the beauty of this gift that we're given of emotions, you know? So like actually letting it out. So like for people, like I think what stops them is like, man, like if they are my best friend and they know me so well, why wouldn't they know this part of me too? Well, did you ever talk about it? Probably not. So how are they going to know about this? The reason people know you the reason best friends are best friends and they know you so well is because you guys do life together. It's because you talk so much. It's because you share everything with each other, right? So like that's the way people become best friends. That's the way people get close, when they actually share their life with each other, not just sit there in silence and just spend time with each other, right? So like it is important for people to understand that like, yes, like there is an innate self that wants to be known, wants to be loved, but it doesn't happen until and unless you speak it out, like this is what you need, or this is what you require.
Fair point.
What do you think?
This is just a random sort of.
Oh,
Oh
sorry.
no, I do agree. Oh no, you're good. You're good. You're good. I agree. Like, you know, sometimes, and I've noticed this with myself too. Like, if I'm working with somebody, and I probably might have mentioned this before, in some episode, but when you're working with somebody, you tend to set an expectation. You tend to set a goal of achieving something together, but then you see that person not doing their part,
Right.
and you get worked up about it.
Right.
Yes, it is their job to do it, but at the same time, have you sort of made it clear as to what they need to do?
Right.
Is it very much possible that they're not sure about what they need to do, which is why they're sort of running around like a headless sort of chicken, not knowing what to do? So, like, sort of setting that sense of unrealistic expectation can be detrimental in that sense, because it also affects the relationship you have with that person. You might have been, even if you weren't like the best of friends, you might have been friends before it.
Yeah.
But then because of these differences that you share in the way that you work, it can be detrimental to the relationship that you all have.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm saying this solely from like the perspective of working with people in college, because I've had a few dicey,
Yeah.
like sort of relationships in terms of like working relationships with
Right.
people. Um, yeah, so like I think one of those things that came out from that experience was the fact that I didn't necessarily let them know what I wanted from them.
Yeah.
um, I was just like in my head, I was like, why is this person not doing their thing? Why? Like this person just sucks, like they should be doing their job, but why are they not doing their
Right.
job? But then ultimately you come to a realization of the fact that, okay, first of all, well, I guess there's many different conversations to be had about this, but I think you need to come to understand that the way that they work is sort of a product of the way that they're brought up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If they're sort of around people, if they're from an environment that's laid back, they're going to be laid back.
Yeah.
Sure, they'll get the work done, but they're still going to be laid back in the manner in which they get it done.
Mm.
If they come from a school of thought where their parents are very sort of go-getters, they're like, get it done now and get it out of the way, then that's how you will be to an extent.
Right.
Not going to be the same, but that's sort of like how your mental framework will be. So I think it also comes down to sort of understanding that in a situation where you can't necessarily kick people out of a group or like get another person to take that job.
Yeah.
In the real world, this is just a personal belief. In the real world, I think you can do that. You can find people who are like-minded for you to be able to. Well, they're not going to be 100%, but you can still find people who sort of overlap with your way of or with your method of madness that y'all can keep going to some extent.
Yeah.
There are going to be differences, of course, there will be, but
Right.
there will be. You can find a lot more overlap in the real world than you can in colleges or in sort of councils where you're voted in
Yeah.
by different people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, I'm not, for those of you who've been a part of the council that I was a part of, I'm not throwing shade at anybody. I'm just being genuine about how I felt
Yeah.
about like sort of working in generally speaking
Yeah.
with people. So yeah.
No, absolutely. Totally.
I hope I answered your question with that.
Oh,
but
yeah. No. Yeah, you did. Yeah, I do feel like, and I might be wrong because like I'm not like the just the wise person ever, but like I think what you're trying to say is like in the real world. I feel like that's more of an ideal world as compared to the real world.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Fair.
Because
Fair point. Yes.
for me, like the way I understand what you said is like your real world. When you said it, you were like, well, you can find people who are like with the same thoughts and you overlap thoughts and like things like that. I feel like that would be ideal world for you, right? Like it would be an ideal
Yes.
world for me. I think the real world will be where people don't get together because have different. I guess like people do get together, but they have differences and they get
Oh,
together
yeah.
with their differences. I just had to say my point there.
No.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%. I think there is a difference there.
Yeah.
For sure. No, now that you mention that, you do make a good point in the sense that there is a difference between it being the ideal world versus the real world, because those are two different things.
Yeah.
Because the ideal world, in a way, is perfect.
Right.
In a way, it's sort of what you want.
Exactly.
Whereas the real world is what you get.
Is what it is.
Not what you want.
Yeah.
So exactly. So yeah, totally. I agree with you in that sense. What do you think? Oh, this is maybe a more of a philosophical question, but what do you think about the thought of what you need, or not what you need, but getting what you want versus getting what you're meant to get? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Getting what you want versus getting what you get.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like us as humans, and this is like my belief, and this is like what I believe in, and like it's like I feel like we're all meant to get something, right?
Right.
So like I feel like there's a story that has been written, but we as humans are given the free will to make those decisions to get to that point. So like I feel so like in the Christian belief, in the thing that I believe, I feel like God has a plan for each and every one of us, right? Now,
Right.
how that plan works out can be like a part of like, man, like, because like he hasn't created robots, he's created humans, right? So he's created humans with the understanding of like, man, like I give you the free choice of making your own decisions, but at the end of the day, it's going to happen the way I want it to. If that makes sense. It can get a little like tricky there, because like what what I believe is like what you get is what God's plan is, right?
Right.
But what I want is my choices that I'm making in this life here on earth. So like, for example, I I could very well not be in the field that I want to be in, right? But right now I want to, right? I feel called to this field, right? But I know like the reality of it is like I know that like there is a possibility that this could not be what I get, right? So like, but I'm still going to pursue it because this is where I feel led. This is where I feel called. So I'm still going to pursue it. So I'm still wanting this and I'm still doing things to want this. But at the end, I possibly couldn't get it. So what I get is already planned. God has it for me and it's still going to be good because God has it for me, you know? But, but like going through the course of it, there might be like some struggles. There might be some like just disappointments of just like, because for me as a human, when I'm going through it, I'm looking at it with the perspective of like straight ahead, right? Like I'm looking at it like, man, I'm going to be an athletic trainer. I want to be a cardiac rehab person, right? So this is what I want. So I'm looking at it from a perspective of like straightforward. I'm going at it. I want this. So I'm going to do things to get there, right? God has a perspective of from the above and he has a plan for us and he knows everything and every situation that can happen, right? So like if I do not make a choice that was according to God's plan, I am still going to end up where he wants me to, but I'm going to learn something from that choice that I made that didn't go my way, you know? Does that make any sense?
No, it does. It does. It does because it's sort of like coming to understand that what you feel like you want might not necessarily be the best thing for you because there's already a path set for you that is probably the best path for you.
You concluded it in the best way possible. That is beautiful. That is so good.
Right. Yeah. It's something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I meant in all of those 500
Yeah.
words that I said.
No, totally. But I agree. I agree with you. I agree with you in a lot of ways because a lot of it depends on the choices that we make. Because I think a lot of the times when we make the statement, oh, like it's already written for us, everything that we're bound to do on this journey on earth is already planned. A lot of the times I feel like the question that pops up is then why are we doing what we're doing? Like, why do we have to choose? We'll end up getting there eventually. I think the choices that you make play a role in getting you to that goal. Because I think depending on, and I was literally having a conversation about this with the another person I recorded with earlier today, and it's fascinating how let's say like, if the end goal is to be a certain thing, the choices that you make will probably, and this is based off of what we just talked about, the choices that you make can sway you multiple different ways, but then like eventually you will figure out a way to get to that point. And be if that point is, I don't know, being a content creator or being whatever, like you beat around the bush to get to that end point based off of the choices that you make. Because a lot of the times we can silence the thoughts that we have being like, I feel like I should start doing something on Instagram or on YouTube.
Yeah.
But then you're like, no, my parents are not going to let me do that. I shouldn't do it. And then you don't do it.
Yeah.
But then if that is where you're supposed to go, it'll find its way into your life
Eventually.
um, eventually to sort of get you there. And yeah, I'm a firm believer in the fact that things happen for a reason. Um, if there's a lesson to be learned somewhere, you will end up being there
Yeah.
to learn that lesson,
Yep.
be it good or bad, be it heartbreak or be it the best moment of your life.
Right.
So
No,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
Yep. I feel like
yeah,
when you said when you said the part where if everything already is written, then why do it when you already know that you're going to get to that point? I would like to like share a perspective of that
yeah,
that
yeah,
phrase or that sentence. Just like
yeah. Go for it.
for
Yes.
me as a so I think we've talked about this a little bit of like what my purpose is as a human being, what I believe my purpose is, or what I believe as our purpose is as human beings, right? For me personally, my purpose is to know God and let his name be known, right? So
Mm.
like to know God in his fullness. Like, well, we can't do that because like we're not like close to God like that.
Yeah.
But like to know God in his fullness and to know God like in his attributes and his characteristics and let people know that. Why I do it is so that when I meet with him face to face, I understand. I am ready to meet him and
Hmm.
understand that, like, man, you're the creator of this world. You created me for a reason. And I hope that I did my best to do what I was supposed to do. And now that I'm here, I actually know. And this is what I was looking forward to,
Right.
So like I feel like our life here on earth is that part where we are learning who God is through different things. We're learning what our purpose is through different things. And like again, because we have our choices to make, we can go either the wrong direction or the right direction. But ultimately, we're going to get to the point where we're going to be like, okay, this is where the Lord or like God wants me exactly, you know? And through those, like, even though like I'm here in that, when you look back, you were like, man, like there were lessons in my life that have brought me here. There's a reason I'm here today because those things happened in my life. If those things wouldn't have happened, I would have been in a completely different area or a completely different place.
Hmm.
So just wanted to add that.
Right.
Yeah.
No, totally, totally, totally. That makes a lot of sense because, I feel like that's a question that pops up usually when you're trying to have a logical conversation with somebody who maybe doesn't believe in things being written or
Mm,
things like being finalized for us.
right.
A lot of the times, like I feel like that's sort of an argument that comes out. Then why are we doing anything?
Right.
Why don't we just stand here and excuse me? Why don't we just stand here and wait for it to happen, kind of thing?
Come to us. Yeah.
Um, right. But it's a thing of self discovery, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Everything is a bit of a self discovery, like towards getting there too. You're discovering yourself as you're, like you said, as you're sort of becoming a better person, preparing yourself, setting yourself up to be able to meet that high power.
Right.
Um, yeah, so totally, I get what you said. Uh, just to sort of bounce off of that, I mean, I know this about you,
Hmm.
but for those of them who don't know, how would you explain your relationship with God
Hmm.
and how important that is to you as a human being?
Mm. That's a really good question. Um, I feel like that's what defines me. To like put that in like the shortest of sentence, like my relationship with God is what defines me. My relationship with God is what my identity is in. You know,
Mm,
because like for me being a Christian and believer in Jesus, I have been told through the Bible that God created me in his image. God created all of us in his
mm,
image. So like I am like when you look in Genesis, the first book in the Bible, it says the God created land and earth, water, heavens, plants, trees, animals, all of that by speaking it into existence, right? But when he created man and woman,
mm,
he created them. Like he did it with his hands. Like he took the time to do that. So that's the intimacy of that relationship, that where that comes from. It's like, man, like my creator just didn't speak me into existence. He actually created me. He designed me. And that actually like was a really cool thing that like it kind of like takes me back to what is something that I learned in school through my classes that blew my mind.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when I was in human anatomy and I was like in a cadaver lab and I would watch a human body just open, right? And I would see the details of a human body, the intricacies of how everything goes into the right place. And if it doesn't, you die, right? But like
Right.
you look at a skull, you see all these holes that the veins and arteries go through, and it just is so beautiful because you're like, man, like this just didn't come about. Someone created it. A higher
Mm.
power, a divine power created it, like has to create it. There is no way the intricacy, the details have been placed at the right spot by somebody, not just like from somewhere, right? So for me, that is a reminder of like, man, like that's my relationship with God. It's like intimate. Like I am, it is so important for me to have a relationship with the creation. And I
Mm.
think the beauty of like what I see in Christianity is like we were supposed to not have a relationship because of what the brokenness of this world is, the sin of this world is, right? And what
Mm.
Jesus did for us on the cross is like I love this verse in the Bible. It's just John 3:16. It literally says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only son, so that whoever believes in him shall not be perished but have eternal life." It's pretty much saying God loves his creation so much, but creation brought sin into this world by disobeying God. But God still longs for a relationship, wants a relationship with us. So he sent his only son to die for us so that we can believe in him, that he raised from the dead on the third day, so that we can put our trust in him, so that when we have that eternal life, when we live that eternal life, we're like close to God. What was the question? What's my relationship with
It's
God?
more about your relationship and your relationship and why is it
Why is it
important to you?
important? Right. And I think it is important because, like, as I'm growing, as I'm aging,
Mm.
I am realizing that life is short. The most a
Mm.
human life can be is 100 years. If you're lucky, 101, 102, right? If you like that's it. But when you see it in a
Yeah.
bigger perspective, you're like that's the only amount of numbers that we're going to live here on this earth, right? There is an afterlife, right? I think
Mm.
it is the relationship of God with me, or my relationship with God is so important because of that afterlife, because that is what I'm striving
Right.
for. That is what I'm looking towards. This 70 to 100 years here, yes, it means something. And yes, it's again like going back to the purpose. It's like for me to know him and to make people know about him. But like the relationship is so important is because he promised me that afterlife with him, that longing, that he longs to have that relationship with me, so that like when I'm done here, when he's done with me here on this earth, I get to like spend eternity with him. I think that's why
Mm.
it's like so important to me to like know who God is, know who Jesus is, and like my relationship with him.
Gotcha. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful because I'm of a similar school of thought wherein like afterlife and like rebirth or whatever else everybody else believes in, it's sort of the end goal is to get you to a point where you're ready to go to the highest planets to meet God
Hmm.
or whatever religious figure of the universe or whatever else anybody else believes in. So yeah, no, I agree with you totally. Just one last question before we head into Bish Bash
Yeah.
Bosh. I feel like we live in a world where we're very vitriolic, not us specifically, but people in general are very vitriolic towards other religions, and we try to throw our personal beliefs onto other people. Like, for example, be it
Hmm.
in India, where people tend to attack others for eating cows. And
Hmm.
I talked about this in a recent episode that came out at the time of recording, but um, I'm of personal belief that let people live, let them do whatever they want to do. If that's their end, if that's their way of seeking happiness, so be it. Like as much as you might want people to believe the things that you believe in.
Hmm.
You can't change everybody unless they want to change.
Yeah.
So, how important do you think it is for us from an overarching perspective to sort of come to that acceptance of understanding that we're not going to be able to change everybody or make people believe
Mm,
in what we believe in?
yeah. Um, I think it is important for people to understand that like we live in a world that is filled with different people, you know?
Right.
Like you and I, we have common things. We have common things and like we have like overarching things that are like common over us, right? But we're not the same people at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And so like our beliefs and our thoughts and our actions, our behaviors, the way our brain works, all of it is like so different, so unique. Like that's the beauty. It's like I said, like God created all of us in his own image. That's the uniqueness of
Right.
his creation. It's like we're all so unique that like none of us is the same, right? So with that comes like different perspectives, different thoughts, different beliefs, all of that stuff. So like I think it is so important for like people to understand that like I think the perspective comes from like you need to see another person as a creation of God. You
Mm.
know, you need to see
Mm.
this person as like like they are valuable. You know, I
Yeah.
think what creates division is when people lose that sight when they look at somebody and like he's lower than me or I'm
Mm.
superior to him just because fill in the blank, like whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like for me, like an example would be like, and the latest news that I found from India was like this woman was killed, stabbed to death by her husband because she wanted to go to work, right? I think the the thought nature of that is like, man, like what makes someone do that, you know? And
Right.
like I think what stems is from that is like he doesn't see her as a person, you know?
Mm.
He doesn't see her as a valuable asset to the society. He doesn't
Right.
see her the way we are supposed to see each other as human beings, you know? And like that's
Mm-hmm.
the crazy part is like, and that's what I believe is the problem of the brokenness that we're living in this world. It's like every single person is so unique and we're so asked and called to see each other with respect and value and just like see them how God sees them. I posted this thing on my
Mm.
story today um, saying, let my heart break for what breaks God's heart, you know?
Mm.
Because think about it. Like when you sit down and you actually are in your thoughts and you're thinking about the things that are going on in this world, what is God thinking about it?
Mm-hmm.
You know? Like again, like it's all a part of the plan, but again, it breaks his heart how his creation is interacting with each other. Like that is not
Mm.
how he designed us to be, right? And I think that's the
Yeah.
beauty of it is like, man, like for us to be able to understand like human beings are created in God's image. So we need to see each other as God's image. We need to respect each other as God's image. And I think the other part of it, I would say it's like the same coin, but has two different sides. Is like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like people actually are not striving towards, because it gets a little like, it gets a little hazy when it comes down to like, man, because like when you say like let people live and let them do their thing, I feel like people take that so lightly because like
Mm.
for a lot of people, and I've had conversations with some people where they're like, man, like I'm gonna do whatever I want in my life, right? And I'm gonna do whatever comes to my mind. I don't care if it's right or if it's wrong. I'm
Mm.
gonna do it because it
Mm.
makes me feel happy, right?
Mm.
I personally think that is not a good outlook to see
Yeah.
life, is because, like, again, just because you have the choice to make those choices doesn't mean you should make them because there are
Oh
consequences to
yeah.
it. Right? Right.
100%.
Um, and like, I think it like comes down to like, for me as a Christian, for me as a believer, the reason I tell people about my faith and my belief and what Jesus has done for me is like, I feel like there's like this hope that I have found that I would love for someone I love to find as well. Right.
Right.
And I think the reason like people don't like it is because like you said, like the way people do it or the way people approach it. It's like, man, like because I'm a Christian, I believe this way. I want you to believe this way. Well, that's not how it works because we are not the same people. Like it would be a better approach to tell them what you believe, and then it's up to them if they want to believe it, right?
Exactly.
And like I think for us, it's like for us Christians, it's like we believe our truth to be the absolute truth, if that makes sense, And like we're living in a culture that is so surrounded by relative truth, which is kind of funny to me because it's like, it's pretty much saying your truth is your truth and my truth is my truth. So we both have our own truths, which like at the end of the day, we both know that's not how it works. I think we have had that conversation before where I said the sun sets from the east, sun rises in the east, sets in the west.
Right.
You and I both know that. So that's like the truth that nobody can change, right?
Right.
And that's why I think like people are like, well, for me, sun can set in the west or rise in the west, and like, well, I'm like, well, for you, you can think that, but that is not the actual reality of it. So I think for us it's like our faith, our belief is like so like dependent on that, because like I said, like our afterlife is dependent on that, is the reason why we as Christians are so much more like, man, like I love you as a brother in Christ, I love you as a brother and sister, so I want to share it with you. Now again, the Bible doesn't tell us to go shove the gospel or shove the good news into people's throats. Bible says it's like, go share it with people, right? Share the good news with people, and then God will do what he wants to do in the people's lives, right? For us, we're not the people who are going to be saving people, or we're not the people, we're not called to save people. We're not called to like, man, like, let me save you or let me tell you this. We're asked to do is like share the good news. So basically saying what Jesus did in my life, what Jesus did on the cross, this is what I put my hope in, and I think you should do it. You don't have to do it because ultimately, at the end of the day, it's your choice. But there are consequences to your choice, right? And I think that's the perspective that like people need to see it with. It's like, man, like you can share your thoughts, you can share your beliefs, but like ultimately, yes, like you have a choice to make, but also like you have to think about like what is truth. What is the actual truth at the end of the day, if that makes sense, because like it always intrigues me to have conversation, because I love having conversations like this, and I'm always like, man, like what do you believe in, and do you like as a person believe it to be true,
Right.
And then from there on we can be like, well, if you do believe it to be true, is it actually true? Because I don't want to like get at the end of the stage or end of life and know that 2 + 2 is not 4. I would be like, oh my goodness, my whole life was a lie. Right. So yeah,
No, yeah, you make a good point.
Yeah,
You make a good
I hope
point.
that
And
answers.
yeah, the way, yeah, it did. It did answer it from your perspective. And yeah, I really appreciate you sharing that, because I think a lot of the times it can be hard to sort of talk about this because we try to play it defensive and not want to try and offend people. But yeah, sometimes we do need to talk about this because, like, we had this conversation a couple of weeks back when we met. We don't challenge our beliefs enough to where we get to sort of retrospectively think about why we're believing in it.
Right.
So, all these sort of things like sort of help in terms of pondering on that.
Yeah.
And, you might not want to change everything, but you will still sort of get a perspective about the fact that you will know why you're doing what you're doing. And that can lead you to change if you want to change.
Exactly.
So, Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
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 And
Totally.
like I would say this to you and to the listeners listening is like, because this I feel like I feel not obligated, but I feel like a sense of responsibility to say that. I keep like messing
Mhm.
with my headphone because I want to be able to hear myself too.
Yeah.
Um, if there is a Christian in your life that is trying to like force Christianity on you, I would say like run.
Mm.
Second point I would say is like, even if you don't want to run and have a conversation with them, you can point them towards the gospel, you can point them towards the Bible and be like, this is not how you're supposed to do it. You're
Right.
supposed to share your faith, not save me as if you are God.
Right.
Like to have a conversation with them. So like, so that it challenges them as well to be like, to actually think, but like, hey, am I actually doing what I'm supposed to, or am I just doing it because of my personal agenda? You know,
Mm.
that's,
Mm.
yeah. That's, I feel like that should help, because like that, it hurts my heart, it breaks our heart as Christians, and like the friends that I have who are Christians, because we have conversations about it, and it breaks our heart to know that like Christians who are called to love and serve people around them are literally screaming and yelling at people that they're not doing right.
Mm.
So that is not how it's supposed to be. That is not what Christianity is about. Christianity is about loving and serving and being the light and being a reflection of who Jesus is.
Mm. Totally. That is a beautiful way to sort of cap the segment.
Yeah.
I appreciate you sharing
Yeah.
that because, yeah, no, it's a good reminder for, and not just for people who are followers of Christianity, but for people who are Hindus or um, Muslims for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
You can't necessarily go to people and shove your belief system down their throat.
Right.
Because all you're doing is making them gag and throw up on your
No.
face. Not literally,
Yeah.
but figuratively.
Absolutely.
So I shouldn't have put it that way, but
No,
hey,
it's a good way to put it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So like, yeah, be understanding and yeah, share with them rather than trying to shove it down their
Right.
throat. Beautiful. I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
Thank
No
you.
problem.
Yeah, so let's head into the segment called Bish Bash Bosh,
Okay.
where I'll give you 5 different words, and you will have to respond to them in 3 words or in 3 phrases.
Yeah.
So, for example, if I was to say, "What are 3 things that come to your mind when I say the word fitness?"
Mm-hmm.
you would respond to those in 3 words or 3 phrases.
Okay.
Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
No. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, this is a recurring segment wherein I give the same words to every guest.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just a way of sort of seeing how people respond to the same words and like sort of connecting those and so on. But yeah, the first word is differences. What comes to your mind when I say the word differences?
Let's say people, cultures,
Mm-hmm.
languages.
Mm, cool. What comes to your mind when I say the word nuance?
Can you explain what nuance is?
Sure. I think one way of putting it would be that understanding that there is gray
Mm.
and it's not all black and white.
Mm.
There is layers to everything that you see, sort of thing.
Got you. Nuances. I don't know why this comes to my mind, but empathize.
Okay, interesting.
I would say um, opinions.
Mm.
Um, Man, nuance is hard. Mm.
Is that your third word? Nuance is hard.
Hey, I mean, sure, if that counts. If that counts. Because nuances is
No,
hard.
yeah,
Because in today's world, it is hard to find that gray matter. Because for a lot of people, it's black and white. So let's
yeah,
just go with that. That's
totally,
good.
totally, totally. The third word is learning. What comes to your mind when I say the word learning?
Mm. Never ending.
Oh, my stomach.
The what?
No, I don't know if the mic caught it, but my stomach just growled. So I
Uh
was like,
oh.
oh,
Uh oh.
yeah,
Never ending knowledge, education. Yeah.
gotcha. Nice. The fourth word is empathy. What comes to your mind when I say the word empathy?
Empathy. Relatable.
Mm.
I would also say listen and be slow to speak.
Mm.
I feel like to be
I
able
like
to
that.
empathize, you need to be able to listen quicker than you speak.
Mm.
Mm.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. And the last word for this segment is similarities. What comes to your mind when I say the word similarities?
Mm. I would say differences for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, again, languages
Mm.
and people.
Cool.
Yeah, those are the three words.
Cool. I like it. I like it. I like it. Oh,
Yeah.
thank you so much for those responses. We're going to head into the last two questions. I don't know why I did that, but we're going to head into the last two questions for the podcast.
Okay.
The first one being, how do you relate to people?
How do I relate to people? Like, is it like what is it that like I relate with, or how do I go about relating with people?
It could be anything based off of how you perceive what relating to people is.
Okay. I think I'm a big advocate of like listening. So like to be able to like relate to people, I have to listen to them. And
Right.
I would actually add intentional listening and not just like sitting there and like going in and out, like actually like having a conversation and like intentionally listening to them. Because like for you to relate to somebody, you need to know them. So like
Yeah.
if you don't know them, and like the only way to know them is to listen to them when they speak.
Right.
So listening, intentional listening is how I relate to people. Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And for the last one's not really a question, but more of a request. If you could leave us with a positive thought or a positive quote before we close off, please do. The stage is yours.
Positive thought. Positive thought. Let me think about it so that I can make it a good one.
Go for it. By all means, take your time.
Okay, I will say this, and I'm quoting it from the Bible. I can't remember what reference it is, but it says, "Above all, guard your heart." And I think we've had this conversation before, and I can like actually explain this. It's like guard your heart in any situation that you're in, you know, and that involves that like encapsulates all we talked about, unrealistic expectations. Because like you going into a situation, try not to have unrealistic expectations. Guard your heart. Don't give yourself way too much into a situation before even knowing what that situation is about. Don't invest yourself way too much in a situation where you probably will end up disappointing yourself because you had those expectations. So you did it to yourself. So don't do it to yourself. Guard your heart in any situation. I would say career, relationships, friendships, anywhere that you go. That's why the Bible says, above all, guard your heart. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yes, sir.
That's a beautiful way to close us off. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you taking the time off to do this.
Thank you so much for having. This was awesome.
Yeah.
I loved it, man. I loved it so much.
No, yeah, I'm glad that we could have a great conversation.
Yeah.
And to those of you listening or watching, thank you so much. Until next time, take care.
Nice.
Thank you for watching this episode of Perspective Platoon with Prateek. Make sure to follow Jonathan on his social media accounts and mention in the comment section below some of the things that you found interesting, intriguing, or relatable about this conversation. Make sure to also check the description box below for other sources of information and content that we've discussed about today. Make sure to like this video, share it around, and subscribe to the channel, and make sure to hit that bell icon to never miss another episode. If you've made it this far, thank you so very much for doing so. I really appreciate you joining in on the conversation. Until next time, stay safe, take care, and don't forget to keep your mind open to different perspectives, because you never know, random relatability might just be around the corner.